Hi, my name is Patrick Mead. I'm a representative of the ABC Debate Society, and I'm here to moderate the debate today between the AMS representative positions for the Arts Undergraduate Society. We have here Kyle, Rory, Carolee, and unfortunately Admiral Akbar could not attend, but I do have a letter from Admiral Akbar. He says that Admiral Akbar sends his regrets. He is not attending because he has been advised by subordinates that this may be a trap. Alright, so to get things started, I'm just going to sort of pass the mic off and see if Carolee would like to make some opening remarks and then move down the line.
Hi, my name is Carolee Shankford and I'm running for AMS Re-elect. I would like to be part of AMS because I really enjoyed my term this year. I'd like to continue the work and continue the work that I'm doing, and I feel that I'm not afraid to really talk to the arts constituents, figure out what they want, and bring it to council about what they want.
Hi, I'd like to thank you first, Patrick, for moderating this. My name is Rory Brazel, and I'm running for AMS position as well. And the reason I'm running really is because I have some significant problems with certain policies as they stand, and including positions on tuition, as well as the recent abolition of the international student seat. So I'll be running to work on these issues specifically.
Hello, my name is Kyle Warwick. I'm currently the VP External of the Arts Undergraduate Society and one of our AMS Arts representatives. I've had a long history of involvement on this campus ever since I've arrived here, from my history as 2 years of an executive position on the Political Science Students Association, to my position as a general officer with the Arts Undergraduate Society, and more recently my executive position. I would really like to continue in this position because I feel I've got the right experience to continue to deliver real results that are practical and meaningful for everyday students.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, so let's get things started with sort of the meat of the matter and what was sort of talked about in some of the initial remarks. One of the big issues that's sort of come up in the last year is the idea of whether or not the student union should be opposing or actively opposing tuition fee increases. Now, currently, the Alma Mater Society's policy is to not oppose tuition fee increases as long as they're lower than the rate of inflation, essentially meaning that they don't support, essentially meaning that they won't oppose tuition fee increases that essentially aren't actual increases, but are in reality just staying with the cost of living, or not cost of living, the cost of inflation. Do candidates here believe that that is a good policy or a bad policy? Sort of like, I guess, show of hands, who here thinks that's a good policy to have? All right, and I assume, Rory, then that means that you don't agree with it?
Yes, it's absolutely.
All right, Rory, I'll let you kick off with sort of why you think that that's a bad policy, and we'll sort of try to get into some debate on the matter.
First of all, I'd like to make one quick clarification. My understanding is that there was a referendum during the last election, so technically the policy is no longer that. Isn't that not the case? It reached quorum, is my understanding.
What I understand is that there's some questions about actionability with the referendum, as well as how it's going to come about. The resolution may be changed, so let's operate on the idea that that was the policy or is the policy.
Okay, thank you very much. But leading off of that, no, I really don't think that's a policy that I agree with. I mean, we're a union, and that's very much like saying it's okay for our wages to go down every year if we are any other kind of union. School is already unaffordable enough as it is. As I know, Kyle, your platform very much focuses on enabling student loans. That's, in principle, really we're agreeing. We're saying it's unaffordable. We just disagree on the tack to take in solving that issue. As to what I would do about that, once again, Kyle, I read your platform. I really enjoyed what you had to say about forming a coalition across the province to lobby for a unified position on student loans. I think it's outrageous that the government profits on them. I'm sure you agree, and I would love to work with you on that if I'm elected. And I think we need the exact sort of same approach towards tuition fees. I think it's ludicrous that we, or the council as it stands, thinks that they should increase when 80% of students have recently shown displeasure with that position. I feel I'm more in touch with this issue than people who recently raised their hands.
You want to pass it down?
All right, so I'm just going to speak why I think the current policy has its merits. I think that one of the key things to remember is that we're not making decisions in a vacuum. We're making them in a political context that exists partly out of our choosing. And that involves the governments in power, provincially and federally. And perhaps unfortunately, right now, if you go into a room with the current Provincial Minister of Advanced Education and you say, my lobbying priority is to reduce tuition, they're basically going to shut off. They're pretty much going to laugh you out of the room, even if they pretend to care what you have to say. And so we have to acknowledge that there's a reality there. We have a lot of political capital that we can leverage, and that comes from the mobilization of students that we've seen in some of the campaigns this year and in previous years. But what we really have to ask is, where we put that political capital, is it getting the best return? And so I would say that if we can get 100% of what we want on an issue like student loan reform, where there has been signs of movement from the university's administration and some helpful, tentative but helpful signs from the provincial government, I think there's a lot more we can get. I think we can get all of what we want there. If we focus our efforts on tuition, however, I feel that we will not be able to achieve it. And I feel that it's overly simplified to boil down the issue of accessibility to education simply to one of tuition. There are a lot of issues, and frankly, for certain students, tuition is not an issue. And so it's often preferable to focus on financial aid, because that will specifically target students who really need the help, while allowing students who are well off to continue to pay what they can afford.
Carolee, would you like to comment?
I do agree wholeheartedly with Kyle that we should definitely lobby the government in a way that the government will listen to us. And also, from my understanding of inflation, is that everything's kind of, if it increases in like real dollars, and I don't know the terms, but essentially it's kind of staying the same, because everything, as the price goes, money's value is going down, then we have to like increase to keep it at a constant rate. That I think that's that it's okay to keep it as long as tuition stays the same, in that sense that even though the number says it's going up, but the actual like how much it's worth is staying the same. Not an econ major, sorry if I'm like butchering how I'm saying that, but yeah. And then I feel that it's really more important, instead of focusing on how like dealing with tuition, is how we should be dealing with like student aid, as Kyle and Rory were saying, is that it's really important, because student aid is where it's the students who need the help, really, because we should be focusing on students who really can't afford to go to school and maybe having troubles with that. Yeah.
All right, so we've seen sort of two of the candidates talk about how the priority is, and I'm going to get you in a sec there, Rory, how the priority that they feel should be student aid over tuition fee increases, or tuition as a whole is an issue. Rory, where do you, because you didn't sort of get a chance to talk about that yet, where do you stand on sort of the prioritization of where lobby efforts should go, whether it should be sort of fighting for, say, tuition decreases or tuition to stay the same, or whether or not it should be towards, say, the financial incentives for sort of lower income individuals?
Thanks. I think they're absolutely both important issues. At this moment, I would say my priority would be on tuition and not aid, though I think Kyle has some great ideas and I'd love to help implement them. But really, I think I have that priority that tuition should be lowered, and I think students are connecting on that, because as the referendum spoke, 80% of students, and it was one of the few issues that actually reached quorum. So it's something students aren't apathetic about. They really care that their tuition continues to go up. So certainly my priorities would be on lowering tuition specifically.
All right, thanks. So now in terms of sort of acting as a counselor at the AMS level, one of the big things is your membership on committees. I know for me, I've been a member on a couple of the committees, and I find that they have the potential to be some of the most sort of deliberative and legislative bodies within the organization. For you and for those that are elected and those that aren't, what one committee is the number one priority for you to get onto, and sort of a quick explanation of why. And we'll start with Kyle and then go to Carolee and Rory.
That's definitely a tough choice, because with the committee reform, all of the committees really do have some beneficial elements to them, and there are no sort of wasted committees.